So first and foremost, welcome all of you that are in here. This is a VIP training event for the EasyTrader version 2 software. For those of you that purchased a while back and are upgrading, thank you for your business and your patience. For those of you that just purchased recently, great decision. It's a great tool, and it's an amazing enhancement to any types of strategies that you're looking to trade. The purpose of this video is, and this training session, and the fact that we're recording it and to put it as a video, is to ultimately help you guys understand all the nuances, the infrastructure of how it was built, and then ultimately making sure that, you know, if you have any questions, to the best of my ability, I will answer them. Anything that I'm not able to answer, I will get on with a developer, and we will make sure that we can get the answer to you. As you know, this has taken about 2 years to develop into formation, and the reason for that is because it is to do with order management, order routing, order placement, trade execution, risk and reward, and money management planning. So the development behind this takes a lot more time, takes a lot more finesse, and more importantly, there's so many more things that could go wrong with regards to development, right? So I'll give you an example. If you're trading supplier demand or market profile, a zone is a zone. Once the zone is created, it's there. But you know, once you start placing T1 and T2 and trailing stops and risk and reward and money management, and like, you could do it in so many different ways than the next guy. And so there's just so many different ways in which things can be used and can be applied. So that's the whole purpose for these VIP events. And I think it'll lend itself well to helping you guys get your pulse on using the tool. So if you have questions, ask them. I'm going to go through the user documentation step by step with you guys and kind of explain a few things, and from a design perspective and also from a training perspective. And if you can't stay for the whole event, not to worry, we are recording it. We'll send it out to you guys, okay? So as always, the risks associated with product disclaimers and the business, it's important to understand that, especially for this type of a tool, we're not responsible for gains or losses. It's education-based, and it's ultimately there as a software application. With regards to platform or indicator efficiency, it's just important to make sure that you understand the risks associated before we get started. Right, so you can take a look at the product disclaimers in the download section. It's there as well. So as we discussed in the prior training event and also the VIP lead on, which was ultimately the webinar we just had, you know, we designed this to be for the trading side of the business, not so much the indicator side of the business. And for those of you that are here, understand that. We're going to break down risk management, trade management, money management, goals and safety, and templates to show you how to customize your UI. More importantly, just getting into the nuances of the features. We don't need to sell you on why it's important. We need to talk to you about how to use the different aspects. And so really what we're doing is we're going to spend a lot of time just going over the panel, all the different features, all the different settings and what they're there for and how they're used. I'm going to use Market Replay. I've loaded Market Replay for this example. And I'm going to use the NASDAQ because it's got more price action. It gives us a little bit more room for trailing stops, etc. I want to talk a little bit about the main controls. The way that the design of the software has been, it uses a custom panel. So if it says here, it says to set the panel back colors. So what we're going to do is we're going to spend time going into this little section over here. So let me grab a cursor here. Okay. And this is the section over here that I'm going to talk about right here. Okay, the settings. And I'm going to change the color here so it's a little easier to see right here. Right there. Can everybody see everything okay? I just want to make sure that we're good to go and everybody's got a good connection and everybody can see it and hear it and everything's great. Just let me know if we're good to go, guys. Everything's good? Excellent. Thanks, Eric. So the settings section is really for us to control 4 things. You can set the background colors of your buttons and your panels. So if I want to change the background color of anything in here, I need to double click down here below the ask and the bid. So you notice when I click on this arrow, it turns everything from the numbers to X. When these are all X'd out, it means that nothing can be used. Nothing is actionable. You cannot touch anything, no planning, no levels, no orders, nothing. Because what we've now gone into is we've gone into a color panel environment. So if I want to change the colors, I just double click below into this section here. Anywhere in this section down here, I can double click it. And that opens up Ninja's control abilities to change the colors of whatever you want. So you can change the color of your background of the panel, etc. Okay, and then just hit OK. But we also have the ability to go in here and change the panel buttons. Any button you want. You want to click up here on the buy buttons. You want them pink. You want these up here. Any except for the buy, sell, and these click buttons can't be changed. We'll be changing those in the future. But everything here can be changed. Okay, all these buttons here. Everything, okay? And the purpose for that is to be able to just customize it the way you want it to be, okay? So the other thing too is when you change button colors, not always will you see the text. So if you're gonna change things to make it customizable, you can basically change the text color. So you could change the text color by clicking on, you just have to make sure you understand which one you're clicking on, okay? To allow that, right? If I want to change all the text to white and have black backgrounds, well, then you could do all that, right? Just depends on how you want to do that. So we got a question here from Mark. It says, before I bought this from NeuroStreet, I found something similar on the indicator warehouse site. Was not sure on which one to buy for a few reasons. My biggest reason was their 16 different stop strategies they have, and also what turned me off was the most, instead of being the indicator, is acting as a strategy. So just to kind of clarify, we're actually very familiar with the Indicator Warehouse. They're a great company. Eric Semth is a great trader. He's a CTA as well, and I have a lot of respect for them. They did well with their business, and the thing with their product is it was designed as a strategy, like you just mentioned. So this it's just really about what you choose to use. And as I said here, there's nothing. It's not about one guy being better than the next. It's about you understanding what the products are designed to do, right? So, you know, it really is up to the user, right? Like no different than if you're going to shop for a car, right? If you you know, you might like the BMW and the other guy might like the Mercedes. They're both a car, right? So it just depends on, you know, which one, you know, is right for you. So thanks for your feedback, Mark. Appreciate it, and glad you're an owner. Okay, so let's kind of carry on, guys. If you go into the button controls here, this is really to do with deciding the type of orders that you want. So the type of orders that you want are either market, okay, buy at the bid, sell at the ask, buy at the ask, sell at the bid, and that's controlling these main buttons up here. Please note that that's just for manual orders on the execution platform. It has nothing to do with your buy to click, sell to click, okay, or your plans. I'll explain this, okay? This is very, very important. When you change this down here, this is only to do with these ones here. That one there and that one there. Oof, not sure I like that either. Let's change white. Let's go to white, okay? So if we're looking at this here, we're only referring to this button here and that button there. The reason for that is that's the on-the-fly execution buttons. And the purpose for this is to, the purpose of this is to just choose how you want to enter those orders. The reason why we don't have it on the buy to click and the sell to click is because those are all dependent on where you place them. Right? So if I want to place a buy click or sell click order above or below price, it automatically has to determine if it's a buy stop, buy limit, sell limit, right? It automatically does that on the fly. So I'll give you an example. I'm going to just turn this on. If I want to click buy click down here, okay, let's do this here. So we can see. Let's reload this. Actually, I'm on replay. I got to put it on replay. No kidding. So this is really important too. You want to make sure you're connected to the right account, right? So let's just go here and hit buy click. So the reason this has nothing to do with this over here is because it's a buy limit order, because we're placing it below price and it's a manual placement, right? And so it doesn't really lend itself to on the fly execution. This is only if we were to enter right here at the current price level. Okay. Same thing if we were to sell click up here. Well, it doesn't matter about being able to buy at the ask, sell at the bid and all that, because these are already sell limit orders. Does everybody understand that? Or buy limit orders? Okay. If I go in here to a plan and I basically plan a long trade below and a short trade above, well, this doesn't matter if it's buy at the bid, sell at the ask, et cetera, because they're already selling limit orders above and buying limit below. So it automatically lends itself to its own functionality. Do you guys understand that? Can you guys give me a why if that makes sense to you? It's just making sure you understand the purpose of this. Okay, so that way it's identifiable. Okay. Okay. So the other thing too here is, you know, if we hit reload, whenever you want to go back to the default settings, you just hit reload on your chart. You go back to playback. I'll pause this so we don't lose the data. And we're going to go back into the settings. The other thing here is the currency settings. This has to do with your plans. So what we do with the risk reward section is it has to do with the plans, and essentially it has to do with, you know, whether you want your order flags to be based off of ticks, ratios, or currencies. So the reason we don't do this for manual orders, okay, so if I have a section here, buy, click, and then we put a sell stop, well, we really don't know if that's your trade plan. These are just orders, so we can't really ascertain the tick differences. It's not a trade plan. These are just random orders being placed on your charts, right? However, if we go into the plan feature and we set this up, well, this is now where you're going into setting a trading plan in advance. Now we have the ability to choose the money management ratios, the ticks, etc. So if I go in here and change this to ticks, you'll see that the stop loss went from $50 to 10. If I change this to ratio, okay, I can't put a ratio in here until I select a target, because we don't know the risk reward ratio until you set a target in place. Okay, does everybody understand that section? So this is really about understanding how you choose to see your trade plan metrics on your flags. Give me a yes if that makes sense to you. I just like to touch base and make sure we don't lose anybody in here. It's very important. This is a VIP training event. I want to make sure that we're training you. Okay, so that's pretty much the settings section. There's nothing left in the settings section that needs to be discussed. Blockers, pretty straightforward. Okay, blockers has to do with not allowing trades to fire off. So what blockers does is it allows you to set pre and post variables around a specific time. So what we do in here is if I want to set one, I click on this, and then let's say I want to set this to, I'm on Mountain Standard Time, so let's just say we have a news announcement at 9 o'clock, or let's just say 8:30, right? 8:30 would be 10:30. So let's go in here 10:30. If I want to do 5 minutes before and say 5 minutes after, that means the line that is being chosen is 8:30. So technically it's a 10-minute bracket, right? So there's a 10-minute window in which the market would not allow trades to fire off, 5 minutes before 8:30 and 5 minutes after. So that would shut off all execution, all plans, all order placement. You would not be allowed to execute. Okay. Does everybody understand that? It's a very simple feature. You can set multiple brackets up for that and goals. You can set them up. There's 3, right? And the reason this is important is this would normally be done on a day-by-day basis. This would normally be done on a news-by-news basis, because every day it's slightly different. Okay. So so that's basically that for blockers. Real simple feature, but it's really useful, especially if you have a hard time sticking to your trading plan rules and you're trading into the opens or you're trading into news announcements. It's just really good to know that. Okay, so let's go down here and talk about the daily goals and loss limits. The daily goals and loss limits is an interesting feature because it really has a lot to do with trader discipline. And I think trader discipline is the #1 reason why traders never see the magic, or they never see the promised land, is because a lot of times what happens is they know a lot, but they don't follow their plan, or they don't follow money management, or they just don't stop trading, right? Like, give you an example, last week, took a win, took a loss, took a win, took a loss, took a win. And I said, I think I'm just going to shut down. I'm up $800. I'm going to stop. I earned my money, right? And some traders won't stop. They'll just continue on. So what the daily goal and the daily loss limit is really to help you define what it is you're trying to accomplish. You know, and this is subjective to the individual. If you set a daily goal in here of, let's say, 500, it's not going to let you take any more trades. And if you select unrealized, basically that means that if you're, I guess you would say, in a trade and it goes over 500, right, it will close you out of the position. And that's because you've hit your daily goal. If you set a loss limit of, let's say, 500, it's going to do the same thing. If you use unrealized, it's going to do it on an intra-trade basis. If you have this unchecked, what this means is it's going to wait for your current trade to close, which technically will override these numbers. So what could be a problem for you is if you set these goals and loss limits, and if you're expecting it to just stay to the exact dollar amount, you then need to use unrealized. Because if you don't, you could close out a trade for a $650 loss, right? And realize that you've broken your daily loss limit. It won't let you take more trades because you've overridden that daily loss limit, right? So if you use unrealized, that means it shuts you down at 500. That's your limit. But if you have this unchecked, it's going to wait for whatever positions are closed. And therefore, what that does is it could be a larger loss or a smaller loss depending on that trade, right? It could never be smaller. It could always be larger, because if it's less than, well, then it hasn't hit the limit, right? So the reason I usually select unrealized is because it allows me to stay within the confines of that plan and that framework. Does everybody understand that? Give me a yes if that makes sense. Wade says, can you use the unrealized just for daily loss and not for the goals? This is for both. So it's built into this environment because it controls blocking trades at certain dollar amounts. Yeah. Mark says, can you program one for each size, especially for the daily loss goal? You can change the numbers right now. This basically applies to both of them. Yeah. Okay. And as always, any feature requests or any types of input is always welcomed. Please let us know that if you do send those in, that we put them into the development queue, and then at the time of the abilities to put them in, or even if we see that they're needed based off a number of requests. When we see several of the same requests coming in, then normally that warrants upgrading a feature. But if it's only a one-off feature, then normally, you know, we can't cater the entire product to one individual, right? So, and that's just honest feedback, traders, from a development perspective. So let's talk a little bit about the next section in here. Okay, sizing. This is a really, really big deal. Sizing, can you tell Mark to submit that request? Wade says, tell Mark to submit that request, and I will as well. Wade, that's a great plan in here, because Mark, you asked the same question as Wade, so there's two of you. Send me an email with that request, and we'll put that in the queue, guys. Yeah. Excellent. Great, great, great teamwork. So let's kind of move on now to sizing. So let's just hit the reset button. I like to reload in the demos, bring us back to normal, and let's go to playback. Make sure that I'm on the playback account. Sizing right here is to do with the technique. We call it technique. And while I'm thinking about this, I was thinking the other night about adding a dollar value sizing, right? Instead of it being percentage risk, a lot of traders like to set their money management off of a number of dollars rather than a percentage risk, right? So we're thinking about adding a different technique in here, and that'll be a feature ad probably later on with regards to dollar value stop sizes, right? And so let's kind of talk a little bit about sizing. Sizing is to do with money management, and there's two modes currently. The current mode is static or fixed fractional. If you want to control the position sizing, and this has to do with this big window up here, you can see this big window of position sizing, okay? This has to do with ultimate flexibility. So ultimate flexibility is there's no protection, there's no framework, there's just you can place whatever orders you want, you can put manual orders, et cetera, et cetera. Your plans can be whatever quantities you want. So I'll give you an example. If I wanted to have 3 contracts on a buy click, I want to change this to, let's say, 10 contracts below, I could just hit a buy click again. Okay, down to this 3 and 10, like there's no plans at all in the static mode, right? Close all that out. And let's say I want to set a plan over here. So let's do a plan. And let's just say 5 contracts on T1. We'll just put 5 contracts on this one. So let's put a long. So there's a 5 contract plan here. But then let's set this up to 10. You can see that changes the plan quantity. Okay, it's tied automatically to the plan. So whatever you choose the plans to be, it's tied to the actual quantity of the position. Okay, you can't set different quantity plans. So one of the things that was not, well, it's just, you can't because the plans are linked. You can't set one plan based off 10 and then go over here to plan 2 and then, we might be able to, yeah, you could set 1 to 15. You can set the second plan to a different quantity, but you cannot set the first plan. So I'll give you an example. Let's turn this off, go back to plan 1 and hit short. So there's 2 plans up here. You could do that, but you can't set the different plans, right? So I'll give you an example. If I want to bring this back down, 10 contracts, okay, set that up to, maybe you want these plans to be 10 contracts, but then you switch over here to number 2 plan, and you want these to be 15 contracts, right? You put the long in here, and it doesn't let you do more than 2 plans anyways, so you can't do that. So it's just knowing the flexibility of your plan options. But you can kind of see how we have the ability to change position sizing based off of whatever we choose to in here. Okay, so this is really about just, there's no limitations to the position sizing of your orders, etc. Okay, where the real, can you give examples of why you want 2 plans, Wade? Wade says, yeah, that'd be great. We're gonna get into that in the plan section, Wade, so just bear with me on that and we'll talk about that. Okay, we're gonna get into, excuse me, we're gonna get into that after we get through the sizing. So I want to go into the actual indicator section for a second and talk a little bit about, there's a section in here that has to do with the account balance. So your account balance, okay, if you set this to, let's say 100K, or let's just say 10,000. Let's say put it to 10,000, okay? And you hit okay. So if I go in here to fixed fractional, okay, and I put a 10 tick stop in here. See how it says 10 ticks? 2% of 10K, okay, 200 bucks, right? 200 bucks with a 10 tick stop allows me at a max position size of 4 contracts. It's all linked. Let's say trade 1, okay, trade number 1 equals, you made $500, okay? What's interesting here is that the money management would only then work off of your 10K. So what we decided to do was, if you want automatic linking of your money management, you have to set this to 0. And this is a very important feature, because then as soon as that's set to 0, it automatically calculates 2% off of your live balance. So for position sizing, if you always want it to be on a trade-by-trade basis, okay, so I'll give you an example. You originally set the position sizing to a certain amount, right? Well, let's say you have your 10K balance and you make $1,000. Well, if you don't have this set to 0, your position sizing is always going to be off that original $10,000 balance that you set in here, because that's what we're telling it to use. But if you set it to 0, it's telling you to use the live trailing account balance, which then gives you the opportunity to ultimately, I guess you would say, stay in tune on a trade-by-trade basis. So 2% will always be based off your actual account every single trade, not whatever balance you set in here. Does everybody understand that, and does that make sense to you guys? So, but if you're somebody that always wants your money management to be the exact tie to your current balance, you always want to set that to 0. Because then what ends up happening is that this position sizing, okay, this, see how it says 40? Now it's because I have a $100,000 balance set in the replay account, because that's what defaults to Ninja's default, right? So you can see here that the quantity is now set to 40. You can also see that I can't change the quantity. See that? I can't change the quantity. I can change the stop loss. That changes the quantity. Why do you think that is? Because that's all relative to the plans. Now, here's the thing about manual position sizing versus plans. In my experience, okay, if I want to go by click, okay, if I go by click, that allows me to basically do 20 contracts, because I'm assuming that I'm going to put a stop loss in here of 20 ticks, okay? But remember this, that yes, it is, Angelic. Yep. Remember this, that when you're using manual order entry, okay, we have no real cue as to if you set a stop loss bigger than that. So what's interesting is that this is really mainly designed for you to use it in the plans. The fixed fractional position sizing really lends itself well to planning, okay, for planning your trades. If you're using manual order entry, right, if I go in here and I want to put a 20 tick stop in here, okay, so 93, okay, so that's 2, well, let's just go in here to, let's just go in here to 10 tick stop, okay. You notice how that doesn't change? It's because it's a manual order. It's not a plan. So that's one of the things that we're going to be talking about, is using the plans versus manual order entry, okay, so that you can always be in tune with your money management. So I'm going to close that out. Now, if I want to hit buy click, you see how it ties to that? It's because it's assuming a stop loss of that position sizing. Now, why is this important? Well, if you're going to use manual order entry, okay, if you're going to use manual orders all over the place, you're really not planning anything. Therefore, you're going to have to stay in tune with your own money management to some degree, because nobody knows what your manual orders are going to be. If you want to use fixed fractional and you want to use a position sizing model, then it's best to use it in conjunction with plans, because then you have the ability to see why that money management model is used in the first place. If I'm sitting here bringing my orders down, you see how my quantities are dropping automatically, right? Like, it allows me to use that flexibility on a plan by plan basis, okay? It's automatically linking. Give you an example, T1, T2, T3. Let's just put 20, 20, 17, okay? Watch what happens when I move my stop loss. See, my quantities are dropping to 4 at target 3. Watch what happens. There's target 3's gone now. Because my stop loss is now, it always has to stay within 2,000 or within the fixed fractional amount. And therefore, watch what happens here if I decrease this down to 1.5%. Do you see how everything is linked? It's automatically linked to be able to control. It's based off your risk model. Okay, it's based off your risk model. So it's really all hinged, not so much on the actual numbers, but what it is hinged on is it's hinged on the combination of your risk tolerance to the size of your stop loss, because that's how you calculate fixed fractional position sizing. Your money management is not based off of your exits outside of your stops. It's a combination of two. Okay. Does everybody understand that? Because it's a pretty complex feature and it can go both ways. Like this is all just plan one. So let's say plan one is here. Okay. Let's say I want to go in here and plan the second one. Okay. Well, if I go in here and I start, increasing this, do you see how it's increasing both plans? It's because plan ones are always linked. So let's go in here and let's do plan one like that. Turn off the shorts, go to plan two, hit the long up here. Do you see how I can change plan two? It's a different plan. It's a different trading plan. I can accommodate the money management differently from one plan to the next. So this has to do with maybe you're trading specific levels and certain levels require different stop sizes. You might fade the long with 5 contracts, but the short needs a 2 times the ATR stop instead of the 1. You might only take 5 contracts long and 3 contracts short because that's within your money management plan. That's one of the questions Wade asked earlier. He says, why would we need 2 plans? Well, because sometimes you need 2 different size stops for 2 different areas. Sometimes you're trading, different strategies or using different indicators for specific reasons. Sometimes you're scaling into the same areas, but at different price points, right? So there's just depends on how you choose to use it. Okay. So this is kind of where we're at with the fixed fractional. We do have plans to potentially add a dollar value money management model, which means instead of fixed fractional, we would say enter dollar risk amount, which would then lock your stop loss at a maximum, right? So we'll talk about that, but that's not in there yet, but that's something that we're planning on doing later. Okay. So does everybody understand the difference between fixed fractional and static sizing? It's a big discussion. Yes, no, maybe so. It has to do with the size of the stop to the percentage risk amount to your money management model. You can scale in with multiple orders on a fixed fractional account, yes, but it's just you got to remember the plans are set in advance. And remember, manual order entry does not account for the stop placement. So it just accounts for maximum size based off whatever stop was in here. But I think that I'm going to make note of that, and we're going to talk about seeing if we put a safeguard in for manual entries. Okay. Manual click entries. Fixed fractional. Because stop not known. So I'm just making notes here, guys, because sometimes what helps me is teaching it to you guys. And when I see something that we could add as a safeguard, or if we see something that could be enhanced in any other way, we add it in there, right? So these types of things, guys, are all ready to go. Money management's locked and loaded. Let's move to the next environment. And there's the rules around the math. So if you're a techie and you like to read the math, well, then by all means, there you go. Okay. Let's talk a little bit about templates. Okay. So templates are when you see, or let's just reset this and we'll go back now. Okay, to playback. And let's kind of talk a little bit about when we start turning things on. let's say you have a sizing feature engaged, you have a blocker engaged, you set some goals, right? All these things are there. Well, let's go and do that. Let's go turn a blocker on, or let's say we change the color. Let's start here by changing a setting. Let's say we want the background color to be, let's just turn it to blue. Okay, let's do that. And then let's say we want to have the currency set to ticks. Let's go in here and put a sizing model of fixed fractional, and we'll go down to 0.25%. And then let's say I want to put a blocker in off the open. I'm an indices trader, so I want to basically have a 3 minutes going into the open, 3 minutes after the open. Since I'm on Mountain Standard Time, that would mean I would need to have it at 7:30. Okay, so I'm just setting up what I would normally like to do for my plans. And then normally what I'd like to do is I'd like to set a goal. I have a daily goal of $1,000, and I have a loss limit of 500. And then I want to use unrealized P&L. I'm just going through these things as my brain is thinking of ways in which you can set different aspects up for each plan. And let's say that this is all meant for, let's go in here and let's say you want to set a plan with 5 contracts, T1, T2, and you're trading the NASDAQ with a 20 tick stop, which means you only allow 2 contracts. So you have two and you have this at a 20. This is a 1R multiple and a 2R multiple. Okay, so let's turn that on. You can see that's, let's just go back. There it is. So that's the plan, okay? So what I'm doing is I'm just setting my plan up. I know it's on the NASDAQ. I'm setting everything in advance, and so let's just leave it at that. And let's say I want to save this as my blue NQ test template. So this is my blue NQ 2 contract template. Okay, so that's the blue NQ2 contract template. And what we're doing here is, we just hit save. Okay, I'm hitting save right here. Okay, so now what I've done is it's down in here. Okay, if I want to delete stuff and I want to go into these templates, I can delete whatever I want. But this is the template. Okay, now why is this important? Well, because whenever you load your charts or you change the markets or you change anything, or let's say you want to change your plan or you want to change your blockers or you want to change your goals or whatever the case may be, well, what this does is, let's say you shut down and you reload. Well, if you load your platform and everything, it goes back to the defaults from a safety perspective, okay? Well, all you need to do real quickly then is just every time you load your platform, you just go in here, you just load your template, and everything's locked and loaded. Do you see how all of the sizing is already in place? The blockers are there and the goals are already set. Do you see how the stops and targets, once you see all the stops and targets, they're already there? So I don't need to go in and actually reset up my plans. My plan's already set. So now if I'm ready to trade, I can just trade, okay? So it's loading for me. I'm not sure if maybe it's because you're set to the wrong account. I'm not sure, Wade. Maybe if you can take a screenshot and send me that, that'd be great. Okay. Normally it's just a user error when doing something like that. Make sure that you have it set to the right account. It'll only load and work if you have your account set to whatever account you're connected to. So I'm connected to a playback account. So if I'm going to be expecting these to load correctly and work, it needs to be connected to a playback account, right? Because it can't load and apply things to an account that's not truly connected. Okay, that's important to know that as well. Yep. Test it again and let me know, guys. Excellent. Okay. Does everybody understand the flexibility of being able to save different templates? Because it can get quite and yes, Scott, and set your account balance to 0. Yeah. And set to 0. Yeah, account balance is set to 0. Absolutely. Okay, and actually you can do that as a default setting inside of Ninja. I would actually automatically do that. I would actually go in here, set this to 0. So anytime you load it to whatever platform, you can say save this, and you can save it as the default setting. And that way, anytime you load the EasyTrader to any chart at any time, this is automatically reading whatever account is being selected in here, right? Because if you, yeah, it's a really good idea. So that way you're not having to change your account balances or anything like that, right? Little nuances like this that are super, super important. And it's really important to know that and to be able to understand and deal with that. Because let's say you're on a playback account, and then you go to a live account, then a sim account, whatever the case may be. If you always have to go in there and change your account balances every single time, that could be a tedious time, and that wouldn't be considered easy. And if we want this to be easy trading, right, guys, make it easy for yourself. So that's a good little feature. Thanks, Scott, for that little value add in there. Well received. So what we'll do in here, guys, is we'll just carry on. Does everybody understand the templates? Okay. Everybody understand templates? Give me a yes if you do. Wade says yes. Scott says yes. Everybody else? Mark says yes. Okay. Because what's really important is that you see that these are all engaged. Right? These are all engaged. You see how these markers are engaged? That shows you that stuff's turned on the fly. If I go in here and I just reload it, look, there's nothing here. The difference between the outside marker and the inside markers is this just tells you what you're looking at. If I click on break even, it just tells me what I'm looking at. Risk reward, it tells me what I'm looking at. But it doesn't tell me that there's something engaged, right? Like these wouldn't be engaged anyways yet. Risk reward, if you have a plan on, okay, you don't engage risk and reward. It's a reading manual. But what's really important is that you engage sizing. So let's take a look here. There's the blockers, okay, the goals. You can see it. Okay, you can see the goals, right? Really, really important. There's no goals set in here. Okay, then once they're both set, okay, you can see that the color changed. You notice that? I didn't have them both set. It's kind of letting me know, hey, wait a second, you haven't finished this yet. Okay, so if you go in here and you see this, right, you can set that up the way it is. High watermark, same thing. Okay, turning it on, turning it off. Settings, okay, this doesn't have anything to do with application. This has to do with just the features, but it'll automatically save in the templates, okay? So lots to understand there, but everything is customizable. Now, why is that important? Because you might have different stop sizes, different position sizing models for each market. Obviously, each market's different. So the NQ, you'd have different stop sizes than crude or different stuff than the ES. You're gonna have to set a template for whatever you want, save it. But what's really nice to know is that you can transfer this from one computer to the next. So if we go in here and I go into your My Documents section inside of your computer, you click on Documents, NinjaTrader 8, you go into Templates, and you're going to see EasyTrader in there. Look at what's there, guys, that template. So why is this absolutely critical to know? Because you're going to want to back this up, maybe complete a copy. If you have a laptop and a desktop, you only need to do this once. You copy and transfer workspaces and chart templates just like everybody does on their computers, et cetera, et cetera. And what's really, really important, okay, what's really, really important is that we can share it from trader to trader. We could do some for the trade rooms, and you guys, if you have, you know, your own little buddy groups and stuff like that, you can transfer back and forth, et cetera, okay? Now, what's really cool about this, guys, is that you can't do that inside of NinjaTrader. Like, you can't save ATM strategies. You cannot save money management plans in NinjaTrader. It doesn't allow you to transfer ATMs from one computer to the next, even on their backup. So even if you back up your computer, you can't save it. So if you have to set up ATM strategies on a test computer, or if you're traveling, you don't need to do that with the EasyTrader. The EasyTrader allows you to do that. So give me a yes if you understand that. That makes sense, and we can move forward. Okay, perfect. Let's talk a little bit about the planning section. Okay, the planning section is one of the biggest components to this entire design architecture. The planning section is really about pre-planning risk management, risk and reward, position sizing, stops, targets, and entries, okay? And so within the plan section, okay, you can see when you click on plan, it's got a marker. When I'm on plan, I can't, if I click on buy click, I can't put orders. I'm in the plan mode. I am now operating and telling EasyTrader that I am not manually planning orders. I am now into planning the section of plans. So if I unclick plan, you'll see there's nothing beside it. I go click by click. Now I'm back in manual mode. So there's two modes. You're either in manual mode or plan mode. Very, very critical. And it's super important that you know that. So if you're saving your templates and you only like to trade in a planning state, then you save all your templates with plan engaged. Because if not, then you're going to be able to place manual orders. You can always turn it on or off as you choose, but it's important to know the difference. Okay. Now, the next thing I want to talk about is the buttons. The plan button turns plan mode on. Planning is all of this section up here. This is the entire section up here. Okay. And it also ties to position sizing and money management, okay? So if I'm just gonna leave sizing on for a second and then we'll operate from that, okay? So going into fixed fractional, 2%, you can see my quantity now is locked, okay? If I turn this to static, that means I can set my plans to whatever I choose to, okay? I can change my stops and targets however I choose. 5 contracts, perfect, okay? So remember this, if you want to create plans based off whatever position sizing or targets you want, then you always leave the technique to static. As soon as you kick engage the position sizing around fixed fractional, it restricts you to whatever position sizing is off that percentage risk, okay? Now, one thing I want to talk about is the plan button numbers. So you see there's a plan 1 and plan 2 here. Plan 1 operates 1 long and 1 short. Plan 2 operates 1 long and 1 short, okay? Plan 1 allows you to trade, you plan your first plans. You'll see here that it always starts with a stop and a target. You can add targets based off of your quantity here. If I set this to 4, you see how if I increase the first one to 3, it kicks out my third target because my plan does not allow that. If I try to click on, it says risk note, plan risk equals 2.2% of the account. But more importantly, I don't have enough position sizing in here. Okay, I don't have enough quantities. So I need to increase it to 5 so I can turn that one back on. Okay, it's all linked to your quantity and your quantities in here. Okay, doesn't matter on your stop sizes though, just tells you plan risk. You notice I can have a huge stop here. It's really because I'm in manual mode, manual planning mode, or sorry, static mode, not fixed fractional. Watch what happens. Fixed fractional, I can trade 9 contracts here. Watch what happens. Oops, there it goes. There it goes. My target quantities are different now. Do you guys get the point here? You guys see where I'm going with all this? It's really about understanding, choosing if you're going into manual plan mode with the static position sizing, or if you're going into the fixed fractional method, okay? So let's go into the understanding of your quantity section. So whenever you're planning your quantities, you want to make sure that your quantities are intact. Don't get caught off guard here. Let's say you've got 10 contracts in here, okay? Let's go here, plan long. Don't get caught off guard. You're long 10 contracts, but you forgot to change your quantities on your exits. Remember, you got to make sure that you adjust your plan in the entire state, which really lends itself to creating your templates, really lends itself to getting organized on creating your money management templates. It really helps you understand, okay, the ability for us to do this, okay? So let me kind of explain this for a second. If you, okay, know that you have specific markets, specific settings, specific stop sizes, specific position sizing you want, you go and you set all your quantities up, okay? 5, 3, 10. Boom. So, you know, you're exiting 5, 3, and 2, right? Or let's say you want to change this to 5 and 5. Now you're going with two targets, right? It's really important that you understand that if you don't know to set all of that, you could be putting yourself into a world of confusion in live trading. So it's about knowing to how to manipulate and operate that. Now, when you set this long plan, now I have the ability to turn the other short plan on as well. Let's say you have the same plan in place. You're trying to trade a resistance level or a support level, excuse me. Let's say you want to do that. Let's say you want to fade this resistance level if we retest it, but you want to buy that support level if they test it. There's two environments there, okay? There's two environments there. Now, a couple things I want to talk a little bit about here. Mark says, I'm wondering if your software can recognize if I'm trading the E-mini or the micro. Yes, because it's automatically pegged to the market that your chart's applied to. It's automatically reading your market. The only time you would need to change things would be if you're trading Forex, which we have a section at the back end of the manual, which we'll talk about at the end, because those settings need to be adjusted inside of Ninja's platform first before you would ever use money management, right? Okay, so let's talk a little bit about the aspect of these plans. Right now, they are in plan mode. Okay. If I want to execute these, I need to hit execute because these are planning. I'm planning this. I'm trying to get organized, right? If I want to execute, okay, let's say I only want to plan the long one, then I need to execute. You notice how it says pending entry? It's because the plan is now live. Like that's a live order sent to the exchange. Okay, that's on the queue. That's on the order book, as if you were putting it in the ATM strategy or inside a Ninja. Now, what's really important to understand, though, that if you unclick it, you're going to close out that plan. Okay. If I go back here, do you see how it's now just a plan again? So if you turn it on or off, okay. But here's the thing. You have the ability to plan 2 longs or 2 shorts, 1 long or 1 short. Take a look. You can only plan this 1 set of orders at a time. So let's go here to turn this to 2 now. Do you see how I don't have anything selected? If I try to click on long, look at the warning message. It says plan setup not allowed. Please enter either a bracket or scale in. Maximum 2 pending entries. So here's what's interesting. If you're not able to do something, we're going to tell you. Okay? And you're going outside the scope of what's capable. However, if I want to plan 2 plans, turn off this and go into this and hit this. Now I've got 2 long plans. Let's say I want to scale into 2 different plan entries, okay? Let's say I want to scale into 2 long entries. Long entry number 1, long entry number 2, okay? Well, please know this, that you need to be responsible for understanding where your stop losses are on these plans. Because if you get into this plan here on the entry, and then you're expecting to get filled long again here knowing your stop is there, you must understand your average cost analysis on these plans. So it can get quite complex if you are trying to do multiple plan entries into areas. Normally, most people scaling into different sections, okay, will normally use manual orders, because then you have the ability to choose where your stop loss placement should be. Because if you start to widen your stops in here, okay, watch what happens. Okay, you start widening your stop in here, okay, and it's going to, well, we don't have any money management tied to this, so you can choose however your stop loss can be whatever size you want. But if you're using fixed fractional, it would start pulling your quantities because you can't widen stops outside of money management, okay? So a couple things here to understand, guys, is just you have the ability to plan 2 longs, 2 shorts, or you can plan 2 shorts, okay? You can do that, scale into two plans at any given time. Now, please note this, that the way that Ninja handles order entry is either on a 1-by-1 basis or on an OCO basis. So what does that mean? Well, first of all, you can also merge your stops and targets. So let's say you're entering into 2 plans, long 1, long 2, okay? If you select merge targets, okay, and merge stops, you're going to merge your average stop loss and your average targets, okay? It's really depending on if you want that done, and it's also dependent on if you are doing that in a plan mode or on a merge mode. So we leave these off by definition because that's a special feature that we've put in there so that, you know, let's say you want your stop loss to be merged, but you don't want your exits to be merged. So you have the flexibility of moving your targets wherever you want, but you want your stop loss to be based off your average exit, right? That's something that you can do, right? Your average entry is always going to be calculated because when you get into a trade, your entry price changes if you're scaling into different plans, but your stop loss may not be, right? So if you want to merge your stops and targets, you can do so interchangeably. Okay, well, let me see here. So RJ says messages should be in bright color. Yeah, we can change that inside the panels, I believe, RJ. And if not, send an email to us and we'll add a color and text feature for that. Scott says, I think you can change entrance and color line colors on Planet 1 too. Yes, you can. Yes, you can. Okay. So let's see here. I'm wondering if you saw, yes, already answered that. So once plan is on the chart, it counts. Yes, anything that is pending. If I hit execute, okay, first of all, I can't, if I go into plans here and I go into long 1, okay, long 2, if I hit execute, both of them are going to be pending because I'm on plan 1. If I cancel that, this is still pending. You see how I put that? It's pending. I can do that. I can put it back to pending. It's already canceled. If I want to cancel this, done. Now here's the thing. If I go in here and plan a long plan, hit execute, I go in here and plan a short plan or a long plan, okay? I got to submit that. I got to hit execute. You'll hear order submitted. Okay, I'm just going to write a note down. Okay, so you can see how this is much different than an indicator, right? The amount of nuances and the amount of variabilities that can go into the different rotations of what you're doing, it can be quite complex. So it's really up to the demise of the trader as to how far down the rabbit hole you want to go, right? And if I click on this, they're canceled. Now, I want to talk a little bit about the OCO section, okay? One cancels the other. So one cancels the other works for plans and manual functionality, okay? So I'm going to go to plan for a section. I'm going to reload the chart, and I'm going to go into manual order entry. So I'm going to click on buy to click, sell to click. If I were to go and get filled, ching ching, money ain't a thing, right there, and I was to get filled, and this would still be here, okay? However, if I click close, OCO, buy to click, sell to click. This is now bracket. It's an OCO, one cancels the other bracket. Do you notice how the OCO is no longer showing? It's because brackets operate in pair modes. So when you use brackets, it needs to be tied to an opposing order, okay? So if I want to go in here and I hit buy to click, you see how it doesn't say OCO on the line? It's because it's not linked to anything. Does everybody understand that? Let's close this out. Watch what happens. Close that out. Close that out. Okay. What needs to be understood, that also works for plans. So if I go in here to plan long one, okay, short, right now it's not bracketed. If I get filled on this plan, okay, this plan will stay here. But if I hit OCO, you see how it says OCO entry? OCO entry, okay? And I go into plan 2, or if I turn this off and I go into plan 2, okay, these, when you're in OCO for the plans, it operates on all plans because you can only have 2 plans at any given time. You can't plan a short, you can't plan a third one. So there's always a bracket associated. So if you have 2 longs linked like this, by definition, you hit this one should cancel. Okay, so it really doesn't lend itself to have 2 longs like that. It wouldn't make sense from a point of purpose, okay? And that's only on the getting filled perspective, right? Because we're still in the plan modes, right? We're still in the plan modes. So if I were to go here long, okay, execute, okay, I got to cancel this independently, okay? But if they get filled, they're going to execute on their own. They're going to close out on their own. And you got to turn OCO off if you want to go out of that. Does everybody understand that? That this section on planning and OCOs is probably the most complex and the most comprehensive section. And I want to make sure that, you know, I did my justice here by explaining it in the best way that I know how. You'll have to ultimately go through and practice execution and planning things and doing things, and you'll be able to set that all up on your own. So did I notice the pending lines are long at the chart, but when they get picked up, they are shortened? Yes, and you can change the line length inside of the settings, Scott. So you can change the length of the lines from live plans, from live orders to plan lines. Yes. Yeah. Can everybody give me a Y if you're with me and you're on board? I want to make sure that everybody's on the same page, and we've all done that. I just want to kind of reconnect with everybody. Hey, RJ, Wade. So let's see if everybody's here. Eric. Okay, we've got Angela, Angelic, Ed, Eric, Howard, Mark, Miguel, Mike, Mohammed, Ralph, Rob, Robert, Scott, Tony, Wade. Okay, guys, let's go on here. These are all the different plan examples. Merging plans, merging stops and target. Okay, we'll talk about that. We already did. The account window is pretty straightforward, guys. Real important. You need to make sure that you're executing on the right accounts. Make sure that you're not, please, like, guys, if you're connected to live brokerages and you're setting up, you're on sim here, like, you can't be doing that. You need to make sure you're setting your right account. Okay, everything will be tied to those accounts. Trail stops. Okay, let's go here and see where the risk reward feature is here. Give me a second here. Let's talk about risk and reward first, then we'll go back to trail stops. Okay. The risk and reward analysis feature is only for planned functions because we cannot calculate risk and reward analysis on manual order placement because we never know where your stops and targets are going to be off manual functionality. Okay. So give you an example. If I put in here, I got to take off buy because whenever the plan is on, I won't be able to manually do anything. If I go in here and put buy click, the software or the calculator for the risk and reward analysis doesn't know that that's going to be tied to a stop loss. If I set if I set my stop loss in here, we never know if that's actually your stop loss or if you're planning on that being an entry to go short and reversing your position. Like when you're manually placing orders like this, we don't know the intention of manual orders. We don't know your plan. Okay, and I know that might sound difficult, but it's true. Some traders will put a long entry in here, and if it breaks structure and it keeps going, they reverse the position, and then they're okay. Then I'll put my stop loss up here, right? Like we don't know what way you want to manually control your orders. Okay, so we can't calculate risk and reward analysis off of that. What we can do, though, is we can calculate risk-reward analysis off plans. And so what we do in here is we put a plan in place, and your R multiples cannot be planned until you have exits. Okay, we can calculate the risk, but we cannot calculate the exits. So once you put an exit in place, okay, then you can calculate the risk-reward analysis. Okay, so let's change the quantities right here. Okay, and right there. So a couple things I want to talk a little bit about is that risk and reward metrics, okay, are all based off of your settings. You can go into ticks, and you can also go into ratios. Okay, do that. So currency is normally the most standard. More importantly, your risk and reward analysis is not based off of your entry to your stop and then your entry to T3. That's where a lot of traders get confused in risk reward multiples. Your risk and reward analysis needs to be based off of your entry and all of these as a collaborative exit, because they're all based off your quantities at certain price points. So it's a 2 multiple because of the fact that this makes sense based off these stops and these targets. However, if I change that target, well, that's clearly larger than 3-to-1 from my entry. Let's say I do this and I stack all of my targets, all of my quantity there, or let's say I bring it down and I put there. Like that. I put 2 contracts at my first target, and I put 1 contract at my second. To the untrained eye or to the new trader, they would say, well, that's what I'm risking 1 to make 2. But not really, because you're risking 1 to get out at 2 contracts halfway there. So it's all pegged to your exit quantity and your exit distance to your stop loss. It's an R multiple of the entire plan, which makes sense because if you're planning risk and reward analysis, you must understand that that's a collection of your entire trade plan, not just partial trade exits. Okay? So here's a good rule of thumb. If you're somebody that's still learning to trade and you're trying to figure out how to trade effectively for at least consecutive exits profitably, plan your R multiples off of at least your first objective, because most of the times traders have a hard time even hitting their first target, never mind their second. And then get good at understanding your risk reward metrics based off whatever it is on your multiples first and foremost, then start getting fancy with it. Right now, that's just my own experience as a trader sharing that with you. That doesn't mean you should do that or you shouldn't. I'm not your CTA or your broker. I can't give you risk or risk tolerance advice. However, what I can do is I can explain how the software is best suited for the newbie to the experienced, okay? So does everybody understand that? Now, what's cool about this is if I got a plan here and I got a plan short up here, okay? If I change these are all linked because they're all the same plan. This is plan 1. If I go here, go to plan 2, plan this long up here, okay? I can change this one. It's a separate plan. So I can see how my R multiple is changing for this plan. As soon as I click on this plan, you notice how this reads? It's reading whatever plan you're clicking on because we're in the plan state. As soon as you execute and you get filled, That will then become a live order, okay? And then you'll be able to start planning plans after, okay? So just remember this, that the risk and reward window over here only operates on whatever plan you're clicking on at that time. And it's live versus plan, okay? So if you get filled, let's give you an example. Let's go in here. Let's get filled here. So I'm now long. I'm going to pause it. Okay. This is now a live trade. I cannot click on my entry. I can move my target. Okay. I can move my stop, but I can't move my entry because that's a live order. Is everybody with me? Do you notice how plan is now turned off? I still have the ability to plan. I can go back now and plan another long trade. I can go back and plan another second long trade because I'm no longer in plan mode. I have a live execution plan in place, and I'm now back into being able to go back and use my plans. So this is really, really important because if I'm planning a long down here, I can move this, see my R multiple in my live trade, and then I can also go here and click on my plan and still plan that. My risk and reward analysis has the opportunity for us to plan the R multiples on all of that. Okay. So hopefully that makes sense. Hopefully that makes sense to you guys. Give me a Y if that makes sense. Mark says, do you send the recording of this event? Absolutely. You're in a VIP event, Mark. You're going to need to rewatch this. Absolutely. Without a doubt, that's the whole point of this. Okay. Special note on risk and reward planning. The RR plan will always be adjusting the plans you're clicking on, right? That's what we just talked about. Now let's go back up to trail stops. Okay. So trailing stops are for trade management. And just to kind of end on the risk reward section, if you're clicking on this and you're moving your plans, you won't be able to see that, right? Like if I have a plan on, okay, and I'm clicking here, if I go back over here to trail, I can't see my window. I can't see my risk reward window. I need to have risk reward turned on. Okay. So let's kind of go back now into the trailing stops. Okay. Well, first of all, trailing stops are trade management tools. And what ends up happening with trailing stops, and this was a big discussion amongst the design concept around this, and most people don't plan a trailing stop until they've at least taken an exit and they know exactly what they're doing to manage that trade. So normally what we've done now is we've made it so that you can't plan your trailing stops until you're in the market and you're in a position, okay? And that's for the purpose of being able to plan versus execute. So if you're in a live trade, let's go in here and let's just click on buy to click, take off plans. I'm gonna just put a manual order in here, okay? And I'm gonna have a manual stop loss in here, okay? And I'm going to put a manual exit. Okay. Let's go in here and get filled. So I'm now long. Actually, interesting. Let's go here, cash that out, reload. So what we're going to do is we're going to basically get out of plan mode and go into manual mode. And the way to best do this, or we could just stay in plan mode to keep it simple for you. And I'll just go in here and we'll just plan 3 contracts on the long. Okay. We'll wide that out, just keep it long, and we'll have 1 target just to show you what's going on here. Okay. And I've got, let's put 2 quantities and we'll leave a runner on. Okay. So I'll give you an example. If I want to hit execute, bring that plan up. Now I'm in the market, okay? I then have the flexibility of going into my trailing stop section and turning them on, because normally you can't see trailing stops unless you're in the market, because you don't have really anything to trail until you're in the market. Okay, so what we're going to do is we're going to talk about the different trailing stops in here. Leave it to off for a second, and you're going to see off. There's no trail stop selected. Now there's two modes. We call this the ghost mode and the live mode. The ghost mode is the planning. These are planned trailing stop indicators that are on your chart that are not live executed orders. So if I put the ATR, that's a ghost ATR. That's not technically there, okay? It's not technically there, okay? And this is there just for you to start planning stuff, okay? Now, if I go to high-low, off the different bars, okay? Offsets, I can do that. It's not really executed. If I want to do the swing stops, I can choose my swings. That's my stop loss, okay? If I want to do price trigger stops, I can choose after it hits to 803, I can trail my price by 12 ticks, right? If I want to hit 18 ticks of profit and trail by 13, right? That means that I need to hit that trailing price trigger, and then I'll trail my stop loss below by 13 ticks. All of these are ghost modes. And you can change the color of the flags. You can change all that. What's really important to know is that if you want to turn your trail on, you need to hit execute. The point of the execute button is to engage the orders. Because think about this, the EasyTrader has two main objectives: to plan your money management, your risk, and your trading, and then to execute it. So when you start doing these planning capabilities, you then need to move into the execution mode, right? And that's really the point of using a tool like this, okay? So the ATR is just that. It's an ATR indicator. So let's just go in here and turn this on for a second. Okay, if I want the ATR to, go, I don't even know if this goes up here. Okay, if I want the ATR on and I want to change the, if I want to change the ATR stop, I could change the ATR, right? And that would be the ATR indicator, right? And with range bars, the period doesn't matter. Periods you don't change with range bars, only with variable bar types. But this is the ATR, okay? And I would need to hit execute, okay? I would need to hit execute in order to engage it. Now it turns blue. It is now a live trailing stop, okay? Do you see that? Pegs it out. I'm going to reload now. We're going to execute a different order. Let's go back into plan, short. Okay, we're going to plan that short. And what we're going to do is we're going to plan one target. Okay, let's plan the next one. So I'm short. Okay, what I'm going to do is I'm going to plan the other type of trailing stop, not the ATR. I'm going to use the high-low feature. My trail stop then allows me to use what we call the bars. A lot of times with day traders, range bars or Renko bars or any type of bar range is used for trailing stops. So what I'm able to do is I'm able to choose, if I have bars back, if I want to go 7 bars, 8 bars back, let's go here. If I want to take the high of this bar, well, that would need to be 18 bars back. I'm calculating from my entry bar all the way back 18 bars. And the offset is I want to be 2 ticks above 18 bars ago. If I want to trail my stop loss behind, 2 bars, 2 candle bars from my entry, okay, and I want an offset of 2 ticks, well, this means that as the market moves in my favor, okay? I'm going to then trail my stop loss 2 bars back, okay? So what's really important here is you understand that it's operating on a bar by bar basis. Let's execute, pull my stop loss in here. Do you see what just happened? It pulled my orders back, done, okay? So it pulls the stop loss in and it moves according to the bar offset. Now, if I want to go in here and turn another order on, let's just turn this down. It's moving a bit fast here. NASDAQ's grinding down. Okay, let's do this. Let's bring this down to just get filled. Short 2 contracts. What I'm going to do is just move this slower. Let's go in here and talk about the swing. Well, if I want to turn the swing trail stop on, I just go to swing, and now I'm above the last swing. I can adjust the swing based off the period, right? I can choose the swings if I want to use the swings. It really just depends on, you know, which swing you want to use. And you can set an offset, how many ticks above the swing that you want to be, okay? And this is a market structure stop, okay? If I go in here and I turn this on and I'm trading, okay, and give it, and let's see if it starts to, you know, hit execute. Now I have my stop loss there, okay? So let's continue on and let's see if the market drops, puts in a new swing. Do you see how it just pulled my stop to the next swing? Okay, it's all relative to the swing. Okay, let's go in here, plan a short. Okay, now what we're going to do is we're going to take a look at the next one, the price trail. The price trail is a pretty good one. They're all pretty good. It's all relative to your preference. Okay, turn on price trail. Price trail is to do with setting a target. So what you do is you set a target, and once you hit that target, you then choose how far back you want price to trail. Let's say my target is at, okay, let's say my target is here. Okay, I'm going to move my target into there. Let's say I want to have my trailing stop engage before I hit my target. The trail is not trail from my entry, it's trail from current price. So if I want to trail my stop loss to break even immediately, as soon as it hits the trigger, then that would mean that I'm trailing 31 ticks behind price. If I want to trail my stop loss to break even at 33, okay, if I want to do that, then I can. But every time price moves in my favor, my trail will move 33 ticks behind current price. Okay, so let's just engage this. See if the market drops down here. I don't know if it does or not. Let's wait down here and see. Maybe it comes up and hits my other stop loss. I don't know where the market traded that day, so we're going to wait and see. See, there it went to break even. Okay, now if it moves in my favor, it's going to move my stop. Okay, if it moves in my favor, it might come back and hit the stop. I'm not sure where the market trades to. If it moved in my favor, it would hit my stop. If it were to move in my favor, it would trail behind price 33 ticks. Okay, so it's really about understanding the mechanism of how it works. Okay, so the trail function is big in terms of active versus view state. It's active in ghost mode, and that's what we call a view state. It's basically live when it's executed. Okay, does everybody understand that, guys? Because it's super important for us to go into those details. Okay, it's a big component. Give me a yes if that all makes sense to you. Everybody got me? Yes, no, maybe so. Lots to take in. VIP deep dive, baby. I got, Wade says no. Rock and roll, Wade. Ralph, everybody's got me? Okay, execute. I'm going to put an order in here. Okay, so my stop loss is here, my target's up here, et cetera, okay? Break-even planning is really a part of everybody's trade plan. It's one of my favorite functions of the software because it's called on-the-fly break-even analysis. So right now, break-even is off. Okay, it says BE off. Okay, notice how break-even, I've turned it on down here. This is another section down in here. Oof. Down here. Okay, break-even off. So I'm in the market. You cannot plan break even unless you're in the trade. You cannot break even from something unless you're in the market. But now what we can do is we can plan my break even. If I click this, break even is on. So my suggestion is don't turn it on until you're ready. What you do is you adjust your trigger first. Figure out how many ticks of profit you need to make. Let's turn all this stuff to ticks. So you can see that my target's 39 ticks. Okay, perfect. Let's say I want to hit 20 ticks of profit. Okay, let's say I want to hit right there at 20 ticks. I want to move to break even before I hit my target. And I want to break even with a 1 tick offset. Boom. It's live. Okay, it's live. Because what we're saying is that break even is now recognized. As soon as it hits the trigger, it will move to break even. What we call on-the-fly money management is if I want to move my stop to break even now, I hit execute now. Then the trigger doesn't matter. Okay? Then the trigger doesn't matter. So whenever it's on, break even is engaged. Very, very important to understand that. Whenever it's on, break even is engaged. If I hit execute, my stop loss will move automatically to my break even. Okay? Super critical, super important, super valuable. Okay, guys? Everybody understand that? Let's see what happens here. I can't remember how the market reacts here. Probably comes down, hits the stop. I'm not sure yet. Can't remember. Maybe it does. If it does, we'll go and we'll plan a different trade. Let's plan a different trade. I think the market sold off pretty heavy that day. Yeah, that was yesterday, market open. Yeah, so let's go in here and let's just go and we'll plan another one. This is all just market replay, guys. This is just functionalities here to plan this stuff. So let's go here, plan along, okay? And let's try to go back up here. Let's bring my target down here, and let's leave my stop there. Execute. And of course, trying to get in there now, and won't give it to me. Okay, so I'm now long. Watch what happens here when I put my break even, okay? Break even on, okay? If I put my break even on and I want to have a break even after that many ticks, 11 ticks, okay? It's on. I'm not sure if it gives me 11 ticks of profit here, if it breaks down. I can't remember if it trades down or not here. This is, it might trade down before it goes up. And if it does, just keeps dropping, well, then we'll plan it to the short side. Let's just close this out. Let's plan a trade to the short side so you can see it. So let's go in here and plan short. Bring this up. And let's do 6 quantity, leaves 3 on for the runner. Execute. Bring it down. Okay, so let's do that. And what we'll do here is we'll put break even on and we'll put break even. There it is. Okay, so if break even hits that, okay, let's see if break even hits this. And if it doesn't break down, then I guess the Murphy's Law, and we'll just have to wait and see. Watch here. Watch what happens, okay? I'm going to slow this down a little bit. Do you see how it just moved my stop to break even? Immediately hit the trigger, right? So what it did was it literally just moved everything down to the break even trigger. Now my stop is engaged at break even, okay? So let's close this out. There it is, okay? So let's go in here and close this out, and let's just show you another example of moving it on the fly. Let's plan, let's short, hit execute, bring it down. So let's show you break-even analysis on the fly. So let's say if I want to move my stop to break-even, okay? And let's say I want to have a trigger. Let's say I hit execute. You see it says error, break-even price cannot be moved to the opposite side of the market. You see that? Because I can't move something to break even when it's impossible to break even. So then I'm responsible for closing out for a loss. I would have to hit close, right? Because then that's the case. Let's see if the market drops in here. I can't remember if it does or not. Okay, let's pause it there. Okay, now let's say move to break even on the fly. Break even on the fly. Let's turn it on. Let's turn this right down. And let's hit execute. Now I hit execute, break even on the fly. Okay. Does everybody understand that, guys? Like, do you guys kind of get why I'm explaining the break even on versus off, the trigger, on the fly, etc.? Break even money management is very, very important, and you guys will be using it a lot. So just make sure that you, and you can't turn break even on here. You see there's no orders if break even, if you're not in a trade. You can't break even from something that's, you're flat. Okay. So let's talk a little bit about, let's go down here and talk a little bit about high water marks now, okay? So the high watermark feature is is there for you to, okay, the high watermark feature is there for you to, I guess you would say, protect your capital when you're making money. So what the high watermark feature does is that it operates outside of your goals and loss limits. What it does is it basically turns, I guess how you would say this, you can set a daily goal. Let me just do this. You can set a daily goal of $1,000, okay, and a daily loss limit of 500, okay? But okay, just like that. And there we go, perfect, okay. And then you go to the high watermark feature. Okay, let's go back to goals for a second. Just okay, so that's equal. When it's equal, it's there. Daily loss limit, perfect. Let's just say daily loss limit of 1,000, daily goal limit of 1,000. Okay, just like that. And let's go to the high watermark. Well, let's say you don't want to take a loss after you've made money. Okay, let's say you want to keep your profits after making 500. So let's say you set a minimum value of $500. Okay. When you set a minimum value of $500, this ensures that you engage the high watermark after you're hitting that minimum number. Now, what the retreat means is that after hitting that $500 profit mark, if you say, let's say 50%, that means that as you're working towards your goal of $1,000, after you've made 500, it's going to trigger the high watermark mechanism, which then means, okay, you then have the ability, okay, to protect your capital, or at least end positive. So if I pull back $250, which is 50% of 500, it's going to execute my positions, and I'm up $250 no matter what for the day. I end positive, okay? I may not have hit my daily goal, but I definitely didn't hit my loss limit. The loss limit is really only there, okay? The loss limit is really only there. Okay, the loss limit is only there if you, let's say, take the first trade out the gates and it's a loss, right? And you take 2 trades back to back and you have a daily loss limit. Like, some people end negative because their first couple trades are losing trades and that's done for the day, right? Well, if you start making money out the gates, protect the money, right? Do you have to set goal to use them? No. So I can turn these on and off, okay? And I can still have my high water mark turned on. And I can use unrealized or realized P&L for that, okay? Something to be aware of. So the average cost calculator, guys, what the average cost calculator is if you're scaling into multiple positions. So the average cost, I'm just going to reset this now and we'll start over. The average cost calculator is really for planning where your average cost would be. So let's say I wanted to enter one contract at 79.66, okay? And then I wanted to enter another contract at 79.78. Okay, my average weighted cost would be this. It's so that we can plan your average entry price from a planning capability. And normally that's if you're, let's say, if you were, let's say, let's put that to 0, and let's put that to 0. Let's say you have a level you're trying to short here, you're trying to short here, and you're trying to short there. Well, the question is, where would your average entry be so that you can plan your stop loss, right? It's for scaling into multiple plans. And that would then give you the opportunity to choose, well, my first entry short would be 70, let's do 79.76, and then the next entry would be 79.82, and then my next entry would be 79.88. Right. Well, now I know my average entry price would be there if I had 3 contracts in there and those levels. And then on my stop loss, I can plan my stop loss from that price point. This is for those that trade level strategies and are scaling into multiple trade locations. Okay. So that's pretty much an easy feature. It was a nice request because we have a lot of market profile traders that trade multiple levels on first touch entries. Okay. So we talked about position sizing and account monitoring, setting it to 0. That was done earlier. One feature that's really interesting is the hotkey feature. And the hotkey feature is about simplification. So let's go in here and hit plan, short, and I'm going to have a target. And let's just do this for a second, execute. So, okay, so now I have a plan here, okay? I'm in the market. Well, you notice when you click on the panel, it says hotkeys and active, okay? When I click on this, it says hotkeys and active. It just means that I'm working inside of the panel. So when you're working inside of the panel, NinjaTrader cannot recognize that you want to work on the chart. And that's just a design of NinjaTrader. I didn't know this. We never knew this until we worked with Ninja to understand how their platform is coded. But what's really more important is that when you're working in here, you can't be telling Ninja to do something here on the planning phase of the graphics. So what we're doing is whenever you click in here, it says hotkeys and active. If you click back on the chart, it doesn't. When you want your hotkeys to work, it cannot say hotkeys and active. So what does a hotkey do? Well, if I don't want to see my orders, I can hit Control-Alt-E and turn my entry flag on and off. If I want to hit Control-Alt-S, I can turn my stop loss, Control-Alt-T, my targets. If I turn my trailing stop on, okay, and I want to hit Control-Alt-M, you see how it says hotkeys and active? I can't because I came here to turn something on. I got to click on the chart, Control-Alt-M, it turns my orders off, right? T-E-M-T-E-S off. Why would you think we would do that? Because if we're going back into the planning phase and I want to plan a bunch of trade orders, I need to be able to see my charts. Okay, so why would this be? So that we don't have confusion, right? So now you can see all the other stuff on your chart. It's really about just being able to free up screen real estate on visuals as you're using the platform. It's really a preference on hotkeys if you choose to use them or not, okay? Now it says additional important information. Okay, additional important information. This is probably one of the most important things that you can ever learn about the software. And it's, you know, they say to save the best for last, right? Well, it really is the most important thing. Number one is if you have the EasyTrader on your charts, don't turn Chart Trader on. Okay, just don't do it. It's not really a good idea. We're replacing Chart Trader. Don't make Ninja break. Okay, I'm just coming out and saying that if you're going to use the EasyTrader, turn the Chart Trader off. Don't have it to hidden. Don't turn it to hidden so you can see all your flags. There's no point on all that. It's going to cause issues, major issues. Okay, turn Chart Trader off. Number one. The next thing is that since I have the NinjaTrader, okay, NQ here, okay, I can have the NQ chart here, okay. I can have 3 NQ charts, but I cannot have the NQ using EasyTrader on 3 NQ charts. You can only have the EasyTrader applied to one market. If I want to go here and put crude oil, I can add the EasyTrader to crude oil. Okay. But I can't add it to another crude oil. So if you're looking at the NQ and crude oil and the ES and gold, you can do all of that with an EasyTrader on each market. You just can't have the EasyTrader apply to 3 NQs and 3 CLs and 3, because it's going to cause big problems. It'll cause order entry errors. It'll cause lockups. It'll cause everything you can imagine, because NinjaTrader cannot tell one chart trader to override another on the same market. Think about this. If you're planning a bunch of stuff on the chart here on this NQ, and I go here and I don't have chart trader turned on, right? Okay. And I don't have chart trader turned on. What's really important is that I have my orders here, but this is on this panel. If I go here to the NQ and I turn this on for a second, let's turn it on. Okay, I can't turn on my my tabs for one because I'm overriding it. And the second thing, okay, is if I start putting an EasyTrader on this chart, okay, if I put an EasyTrader on this chart and I start planning orders on this chart and executing live on this chart, well, I'm already live on the NQ on the exact same market, it's going to conflict my orders. Okay, very big deal, guys. So you can only have the EasyTrader applied to one instrument at a time. You can have it applied to 20 instruments, but only one, each separate instrument, one at a time. Does everybody understand that? Give me a yes. I need it across the entire board, because I don't want to have anybody send me an email saying, hey, what's going on? But then it's because you didn't realize that that it was just something we've already explained. Okay. So as always, inside of the indicators, we have lists of parameters. Okay. You have the ability to go through all of these different parameters, change colors, visual parameters. Okay. Trade plan 2, trade plan 1, line lengths, colors for lines and flags. Okay, account parameters, you can do all that, but really any of the custom graphic stuff is done inside your settings, inside the text and the background colors. Okay. The other thing too is that this is probably, and this, like I said, they save the best for last. Is this is really not the best. It's from a legal perspective. So, and it's really important that I put this in here. We are not responsible if you take a loss as a result of order execution. The brokers are responsible. The platform and the brokers are responsible. And what's really important to understand this is, let's say you have a system crash. Okay, let's say your computer locks up and your charts freeze or your data shuts down or whatever the case may be, and you need to reset your platform. Well, if you've got a bunch of orders open and you've got plans in place, That could happen using the chart trader. That could happen using manual execution. That could happen using EasyTrader. But what's more important, though, is that when you reload Ninja to start over, the EasyTrader is going to be in a default mode. So close out, okay? If I reload, the EasyTrader is going to just look like this on your chart. It's not going to have all your plans in place. It's not going to have all your trailing stop lines and all of that because Ninja crashed. And so by default, it just goes back to this so that you can load your templates and you can set everything up the way you need to. But hold on a second, because you were in the market or you had plans and you had entries and you had execution in place. That was already at the exchange. That was already inside the platform. So what's more important that you understand is that we've gone over and above to warn you, to let you know that you need to take active precautions inside the control center. You need to go to your orders tab. You need to look to see what orders are inside your platform, which ones are live, which ones are engaged. Are you able to flatten anything? Are you able to close anything? Do you need to manage a position that you don't see and you need to open up a chart and then manage it? Because we never know the severity of a platform crash and we don't know the culprit. We don't know if it's an indicator, if it's your data, if it's your computer hard drive, anything. So what we've done is we've built in an internal messaging system that says, hey, the EasyTrader was shut down correctly last time it ran, not shut down. It might result in NinjaTrader crash. You need to go in and manage your orders so that you can protect and manage your money. Does everybody understand that? Because it's important that we explain this here and now so that there's no confusion. Because we cannot control what happens to the platform or your computer. We can only control how to help you manage your money in terms of protecting your capital if you had a platform crash or a platform, a mishap, okay? Now, two things to make note of. The money management and the, I guess you would say the order management is, like I'm on a futures contract, right? Well, let's go in here and turn this to Forex for a second. I don't even know if I have Forex data in replay. I do. Oh, it's going to load it. Perfect. Okay. So let's say I've got Forex data. Okay. And I go in here and I basically turn the EasyTrader on. Replay. Okay. So I've got the Aussie dollar. If I go in here and I start planning fixed fractional, okay. Okay. And I start planning this, okay, based off of the Aussie dollar. The reason it's not adjusting right now is because I don't have data for the Aussie dollar. But you're going to see pips and quantities and targets changing. You're going to see like 10 decimal numbers in here, right? You're going to see like 100 thousandths of a pip information, right? Not now because I'm not connected to Aussie dollar contracts, right? I could connect to a SIM account and we could show you on a SIM account. But what's more important to know that any Forex traders in here, the best thing you need to do is you need to adjust your tick settings in the data series management. So data management, okay, database management. Actually, give me a second. Instrument, update instrument list. Give me 1 second here. I'm going to go in here and show you. Let's go in here. Database management, and we can go in here, update instruments, instrument lists. Give me 1 second, traders. I'm just going to show you where actually I can just click on this and show you. 1 second in here. So working with Forex, okay, and what it talks about pips and it talks about ATM strategies and it also talks about lot sizes, right? Well, you got to go into the account and adjust your lot sizes so that it effectively creates an opportunity for you to be within the confines of proper pips and decimal points, right? So when you talk about, doing that, okay, when you talk about doing something like that, it's really based off the user. And if you want the fixed fractional to be aligned properly with the right market, you need to go and adjust the settings for those instruments accordingly. Now, normally what ends up happening, okay, is if you go into the instrument list and you go into Forex, okay, and I go in here and I click on this. If I go here and edit this market, actually, let's do it here, Forex. I think it's because I'm connected to the replay account. But for those of you that are trading Forex, guys, just go and adjust the pip settings and the math settings behind it. For equities, it's going to be operating on a share basis. So you're going to be 100 shares, 500 shares, 1,000 shares. Quantity is going to be 1,000. Quantity is going to be 500, et cetera, right? So the majority of you are trading futures because you're on the Ninja platform. But for those of you that trade Forex or equities, you can do that accordingly. Setting up those are in here for the help guides. And that's there based off Ninja's platform requirements, okay? So pretty deep dive training, guys. Lots to cover. And the big thing for me is just making sure that I was able to answer some of your questions, and I was able to go through some of the nuances and go over all those details. Is there any over and above questions that you guys may or may not have as we're in the event and that I can help you guys answer and I can go over with you guys? Just type a yes if you guys understand it, if you got a lot out of it, if you felt that it was informative. Let me know any feedback. Send me an email. If you have any feature requests or if there's any confusion on that, let me know. Okay, and we'll make sure that we address that moving forward. Okay. For the most part, hopefully you guys have a great weekend. Yeah, Ralph says lots of info. I need to watch it again. Nice updates though. Yeah, Ed says thanks again. RJ say, hey RJ, thanks buddy. Yep. So any questions, let me know, guys. Mark says, what a nice presentation. Well, thanks. I appreciate it, guys. The biggest thing for me is making sure that you guys know how to use the tool to our advantage, making sure that it's there and you guys enjoy learning from that stuff, right, guys? So if you don't see something or if you thought of something outside of here, let us know. We're happy to help. And we'll send out this recording to all of you guys once it's rendered and it's ready. All right, traders, thanks for taking the time out of your day to learn this with us. Hopefully you see value in it. And thanks for your business. Appreciate it. Take care, guys. And we'll see you next week in the trading room. Take care, guys.